Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week. We're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, we're starting things off this week with our latest exclusive that we get to unveil, and that is the Spyderco Manix 2XL, shown here in our favorite variant, one of our favorite variants. Smooth black G10, so it's not got the same kind of aggressive texture. I'll use the term aggressive loosely here. It doesn't have the same standard texture as the normal G10 versions. A little bit smoother, a little bit kinder in the pockets. Feels nice and silky in a way, with a CruWear blade. Very cool, especially on these larger knives, because you get that added toughness that CruWear provides versus something that, you know, like S30V, for example, which still has your high edge retention, but it's not as tough, not as kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Tough.
Tough. There's another word I'm thinking of, but it's trapped up here. But you get that extra tough.
Tough luck, buddy.
Oh, I hate you so much right now. But you get that extra toughness from the CruWear. And as I've said before on this channel, the longer a blade is, the more important toughness becomes, in my opinion anyway. Really cool. Other really cool thing about this exclusive is the price. $171.50, which is a couple of bucks less than the current standard S30V version. And because we had some folks in the comments the last time we had a similar situation with the Spyderco get a little upset about that, let me explain why. They got a little upset at Spyderco. Oh, they're ripping us off with the standard version. It's not the case. Anyone who's been paying attention the last couple of years knows everything is getting a little bit more expensive. But in the case of this knife, we actually essentially signed a contract on this when prices were a little lower, and as such, Spyderco's continuing to honor the price that we contracted for on these. And sure, we could have priced this above the standard version, because normally these upgrades would warrant a little bit of an upcharge over the standard version, but we're just going to keep this at our standard margin and pass the savings along to you folks, basically. Feels right to us. It wouldn't feel right trying to like gouge extra out of it. It's not what we do. But here you go. You've got something with a little bit unusual or a little bit different blade materials, a little bit of an upgrade for a little bit less. That's very cool. Blade length on the Manix 2XL is 3.88 inches, so nearly a 4-inch blade. You do eat up a little bit of the edge there because of the finger choil here, as opposed to an edge that would come all the way back. But as such, you can choke up with that index finger and control that blade a little more precisely for some of these smaller tasks you might want your big knife to do. But you've still got plenty of reach when you're in the standard grip section, as you can see right here, for those longer, heavier cuts. As for the amount of grip space, I'd say if you have really big hands, you might be a little cramped. I say my hands are slightly larger than average, and I just have enough space there personally. But I could certainly choke my pinky back on the backside of that beak and still have plenty of more space. It's kind of a good handle for those multiple positions sort of thing. You can certainly manipulate it well in a pinch grip, especially on that wide blade right there, which is thick enough for some strength, but you've got a full flat grind for slicing. And then as far as the lock, you've got Spyderco's, not compression lock, their ball bearing lock right here, which you operate similarly to something like an axis lock or a crossbar lock, but you've actually got a ceramic ball bearing that interfaces with the tang of the blade as opposed to a crossbar. Pretty cool thing. But you still get the same finger safe, fidget friendly action, and a lot of strength besides. So there you go. That's our latest exclusive. You can get your hands on it right now at the link below. Next up, another Spyderco, the Persistence Lightweight S35 VN model is now in stock. 103 and some change for this. You've got a 2 3/4 inch blade with the S35 right there. Nice upgrade indeed over the HCR of the standard version. And a length that's short enough to be quote unquote acceptable most places, but enough handle length there to get a pretty full grip on, especially when you add in the traction of the bidirectional texturing of those FRN handle scales. You got a full feeling grip over this 3-inch blade, which makes it feel a little bit bigger, not shrimpy at all. Perfect example of what I mean there. This old timer that we're going to look at shortly has technically a longer blade than this persistence right here, but it feels like a smaller knife because of its nature. Whereas the persistence feels like it could go farther, persist, shall we say. It's got a bigger kind of personality to it. And I think that's something you can see, those two different approaches, the more slim, compact things, or the more kind of hard use or bulky compact things. I'm not saying that exceptionally well, so pardon my comparison here. But this kind of 3-inch and thereabouts range, you can see a lot of good approaches to both sizes, especially in this range, if that makes sense. But there you go. Really cool. I like the blue color, of course, too. Very easy to see, and it's not just another black knife handle. I'm always excited to see extra color. 4-position pocket clip, so you can carry it any which way you want. Liner lock, washers in the pivot, so they're gonna handle dirty and dusty conditions really well, and you get that smooth, deliberate opening action with it. Actually, I haven't tried to reverse flick it. I know folks like to do that with Spydercos. Hey, no problem there whatsoever right now. Let's keep with things with holes in the blades here, and let me try to get over my vocabulary
deficiency.
Thank you. I was gonna say hurdle, but that's better. Man, you guys, I need more coffee or something. Sorry. Let's keep with something with the holes in the blades here. The SOG One-Zero is now in stock, the manual versions. $300 for this. You've got aluminum handles. This is the smoke gray, which is in reality a bit more blue. We've also got white and a blacked out version as well. Both of those come with black blades. This one here comes with a satin and bead blasted blade. It's two-tone. S35 VN just over that 3-inch mark. Really cool tapering drop point shape to it, and that chamfered opening hole right there. It's got a lot of nice details. I mean, this is definitely something that feels solid. It could be a hard worker, but it has a level of refinement, a level of kind of fanciness to it that you don't often see in a lot of SOG's products, but just really, really nice in that regard. You can see you've got studies and observations group there on the tang of, or I guess that's not the tang technically, but the back spacer piece right there, because that's not acting as a back spring or anything else. That's just closing off the back. The aluminum feels great. It's got a little bit of grab to it, so it's not super slick, which is really nice. The blue and the gold looks good together, and SOG's XR lock, which is their take on the crossbar lock, continues to function very, very well in this application right here. I mean, just listen to that. Super smooth, super nice. The lockup is exceptionally tight, especially for a crossbar lock. Sometimes just by the nature of it, you get a little bit of wiggle. I've got just the barest hint of up and down wiggle on that. Really, really impressed there. Deep carry pocket clip mounted centrally in the spine. It is reversible, so you can carry that way down in there. Certainly is not going to draw too much attention to itself. But the bones of it, beyond all just the fancy details, is a nice, hard-working pattern. Very, very cool knife. All right, next we've got the Southern Grind Arachnid OTF. About $380 for this. You've got a 3.2-inch S35 VN blade available in gold or a more traditional kind of satin, or actually I think it's a stone-washed finish, but a non-gold and a non-black finish nonetheless. Aluminum frame, you got the little spider symbol there, Arachnid after all. Milled pocket clip here on the back. Very interesting faceted switch there on the top too. It's asymmetrical when viewed from the side. You can see it's got a little bit more of an aggressive scoop on the front to better grab your thumb on the pull back, but a little more gentle on the push out. Really nice. But the action feels really good. I happen to really like the gold on black, especially here on the handle. Holds pretty nice. Edge is nice and sharp. Really a very good product for a first OTF from Southern Grind, unless I'm missing something like really obscure that they've done before. I can't remember anything though. Really, really well done. Enough there for a solid grip. You've got this ramp at the front. You can choke up on a little bit, put your fingertip there, really get some nice fine control. The blade lends itself well to some of those finer things too, as well as having enough thickness at the spine where you could really push into it if you needed to.
And it's got speed holes.
And it's got speed holes, which means it goes faster. And we are maintaining the holy blade thing right here. One more, shall we? This is the MKM Root, a very cool little slip joint designed by Jens Anso, made in Italy, because it's an MKM after all. A few different versions of this have joined the lineup. Previously, you could get them with titanium handles or titanium with inlays for a little bit more. Now we've got a couple new nice looking handle options joining the non-inlaid side of things. This one right here is Santos wood, which is a relative of mahogany. We've also got olive wood, as well as a couple micartas, green and natural showing up. Really nice couple of choices right there. Cool thing, the walk and talk is quite nice. As you can see, those holes in the blade, which in addition, of course, to making it go faster, also provide a nice extra little bit of traction when you go to pinch that blade open, since there is no thumb cut or a nail nick. No help at all this time. Since there is no nail nick there to open it, those holes do give you a little bit extra. And you need it because there is just, it's not difficult to open, but if it weren't for those, you might be a little slippy. Feels really, really good. The spine of the knife is crowned in typical MKM or Italian fashion, shall we say, which makes it a little bit more comfortable when your thumb is on it. Also makes it prettier too. Looks very nice. And you see that extended into the back spring as well as the liners. So you get a nice kind of multifaceted look there. And compared to some of the titanium versions, this area right here at the front is a little bit more comfortable as a result of that crowning especially. Doesn't really pinch the finger there. Feels really, really good. Gotta say I like it. Price-wise, it is right in line with those original titanium models. A couple bucks more, it's like $5 more. $145 or thereabouts for these models. And that's true for the wood or the micarta options. Feels really good. We do have a magnetic pocket slip here, which is a nice MKM hallmark. So the knife slips in there very easily. And then when you go to pocket it, simply slide it into your pocket and allow that magnetic flap to fall on the outside. Great way for keeping a slip joint like this from just banging around inside your pocket, flying all over the place, so to speak. It'll keep this thing looking better longer, as well as anything else you've got in your pockets looking better longer. And then when you're using it, you don't have to worry about a pocket clip getting in the way of the ergonomics of the knife. All right, let's go with a couple more slip joints, shall we? I think honestly, for one of the cool things about MKM and a lot of the Italian manufacturers is the amount of value they offer for the price. But still, $145 is going to be out of reach for some people. So what if you want a slip joint, but you have more like Miller High Life money rather than, you know, expensive beer money.
Whatever I drink.
Whatever Thomas drinks, basically, all of his expensive beers. Well, I have a couple of new Schrades here to show you. We've got a new old timer. They're calling this the Gunstock Trapper. I'm not really seeing the Gunstock in the handle so much. It just looks like a traditional trapper shape to me. Now, what I'm really impressed or I'm really happy with about this knife though, is the price and what you're actually getting for it. $22. And for that, the materials are actually, I think, quite good. Even though this may not have the fit and finish of a high-end Italian slip joint, the materials here, what you're getting, actual bone for one. This isn't Delrin, this isn't either some kind of plastic or injection molded anything. Actual bone handle covers. You can see the character of it right in there. Very cool. And the steel is a step higher than I would have expected, at least one step higher than I would have expected on a knife like this. 9CR series stainless, not your 8CRs, your 9CR, which roughly should equate to something like 440C in terms of performance levels. 2 blades of 9CR, real bone handles for about $22. I am impressed by that. It's put together really nicely. So you can see here on the back, no big gaps going on. There's no half stop, but they snap closed quite nicely. I gotta say, for $22, you could get, I don't know how much more better knife you could get these days, especially in the slip joint world. Good job.
You could get one of my beers.
You can get one of Thomas's beers. Exactly. No, well done, Schrade. I'm even more impressed now handling it on screen than I was before when we were laying things out. I thought, oh yeah, that's good. But man, the closer I look at it, yeah, there might be like a hint of gap right here between the bolster and the bone here on the front. but not a large one. And you could easily fill that with a little bit of super glue if you want. I mean, it's just barely enough to get my fingernail in for 22 bucks. I'm surprised and impressed. Very cool. Another Schrade here. This one is $18, and it is a liner locking knife. 3.19 inches on the blade here. It is also, this one's not nice here. This is actually a carbon steel blade. That's pretty cool. Not sure what grade of it, but again, $18 here. These handles are not actual bone here. This is a Delrin handle here. You can see the characteristic color of it. I still have a Delrin handled knife. It was one of my first good knives, and I actually still enjoy it. 18 bucks, $18 with a liner lock, with a thumb stud, with flickability, if I don't whiff it again. Yeah, man, pocket clip even. $19, or sorry, $18. Really impressive. I mean, even the edges are nicely sharpened, not rough at all. I mean, I could put a better edge on it, and I'm sure most of you could too, but I'm really impressed by the value of these, like genuinely. These make great gifts too. Way better than some of my first knives that I ever got, which I got technically for selling popcorn in the Boy Scouts.
And how good could that be?
They're pretty bad. So I found one of them a couple years ago. It's really bad. These are way better than that. Let's get to some fixed blades, shall we? Maybe my words will come back to me now. Williams blade design, the SMD 004 Special Mission Dagger. Really cool looking thing. 475 bucks. These are made in the USA by Winkler Knives for Williams blade design in this case. You can actually see them right there with the Winkler Knives stamp on the tang and Williams on the other side. We've got 80 CRV2, a really excellent, really tough carbon steel that blacksmiths, especially in this country, love. And you've got, I believe this is a walnut, walnut wood handles right there. Black pins to keep things nice and subtle. Even though you've got kind of this classic wood handle material, it's kind of like a classic blacked out tactical wood modern knife thing going on here. Thought my words might come back, maybe they didn't. It's really cool. In a way, it almost reminds me, hear me out when I say this, a little bit of kind of the old Ek knives, the Ek Commando knives in a way. Granted, you don't have the same kind of faceted handle, but similar attitude, I would say. 6-inch blade, double edge, so you've got 12 inches of edge, because that edge does come almost all the way back to that handle, and check out that wickedly acute tip. Very, very cool. As far as the sheath, it is Kydex, and one thing that Kydex just does, this is the nature of it, is it can scuff your blade. Doubly so if it's got a blackened coating, which in this case I believe is a Caswell coated, or a Caswell process, yes. Much less of a chance of that happening in this particular one, unless you get like grit trapped in there, which could still happen. This is actually a suede lined Kydex sheath. So it doesn't click in with the same type of sound. It's much more gentle, and yet you've still got the retention you want out of it. Very, very neat. Comes with a safety retention clip here. It's got the extra retention tab at the bottom to keep it from sliding out or sliding up off of your belt or hem. And when you're ready to go, and talking about a tactical thing, I just realized this too. If you want to keep things subtle, quiet, one, you've got the visual quietness of the mostly blacked out nature of this knife, even though the brown handles are not black, they're nice and dark. Listen to the sound, or lack thereof, coming out of that sheath. It's just like cloth rubbing it up against each other. Doesn't announce itself the way a lot of other Kydex or standard Kydex would. Very, very cool knife in this case. It's another one. The more I handle it here, the more impressed I am. But let's say you want something that is big, loud, brash, and obnoxious, and I mean that in a good way. Check out new versions of the Work Tough Gear Nomad Field Knife. 7-inch blade, the thickness, we're talking about a 1/4 inch in this case. Let me just confirm that. Yep, full 1/4 inch of steel, K340 in this case. And in contrast to the original versions of this that we had, these new versions we have in stock right now have no finger choil here. So you get a little bit more edge out of that 7-inch blade, but it's still, quite honestly, balanced pretty well for the smaller stuff. You're not missing too much by the lack of that choil right there. Of course, you could grind one in if you really wanted to, but I like this personally. The K340 hits hard. It should offer better edge retention than the SK5 or SK85 that they use on certain of their knives. Seems to be a really popular performer in the work tough groups nowadays. And I especially like this handle version. It is listed on our site as black canvas, but if you look at it, it's got a really rough weave to it, almost like burlap. Really like that. You get a little bit of extra texture, a heck of a lot more character as a result, I think. Very cool. But this hits pretty hard, or feels like it would anyway. I haven't actually used one. Personally, I've used its bigger brother though, a little bit. You've got a forward lanyard retention point right here, so you can use that forward lanyard, which I have always found to be the safest lanyard option for a heavy chopper, because as it comes back over your wrist, if you lose your grip on the knife, it stays put a lot better than if you had a lanyard mounted from the tail of the knife. But you could do that if you wanted, because there is a tail lanyard spot there. Plenty of finger guard there if you needed to pierce with this, and with its kind of, they call it reverse tanto profile, you could certainly pierce with this. Always rubs me wrong though, there's so much belly on here to call it a reverse tanto. I think it doesn't quite tell you what you've got going on here. That is a blade that does a lot. Kydex sheath, and this has your more typical announcy sound compared to the Williams there. You can definitely see why something like that on a tactical knife like this would be appreciated, that lack of noise there. But their Kydex is really well done. Their fit and finish on everything. The blades, the handles, and the sheaths are all top notch. You get a Tech-Lock style attachment with this Kydex sheath as well. That's still in the box, I didn't pull it out. Really cool. Kind of a one-tool option survival knife. It would certainly fill the role for that sort of thing without the extra bulk or the few extra inches that the bigger version of this knife has. This is going to carry a little bit better, a little bit easier than that particular knife. Let's say you want a big fixed blade that does hit even harder though. Check this out. This is the Gurkha Kukri Plus from Cold Steel, now available in this nice thick 3V blade steel. Remember what I said about the bigger the knife, the more important toughness is? Well, the 3V here is certainly tough. The price on it is certainly up there too. We're talking about a 12-inch blade and thick too. I mean, we're talking about almost an 8mm thick blade right there. $612 for this particular knife. Almost feels like an insult to call it a knife, because I mean, this thing is a monster. Kukris, of course, with their downward canted blade like this, especially in conjunction with a proper snap cut technique, can hit crazy, crazy hard for those heavy chopping tasks, whether around camp or in a tactical or military scenario, because of course the Kukri gained fame in the hands of the Gurkha military in Nepal, even though it was adapted from farming implements, really. Just bar none. The pedigree of the chopping prowess of a good Kukri is pretty much universally respected. We've got an overmolded Crayex, no, not Crayex, yes, Crayex handle is what they call it. It's rubber with a little hint of give, so you've got some shock absorption, vibration absorption, not electricity absorption properties baked into this handle. That said, I probably would want to wear gloves with this because the diamond texture on this might raise a blister after a little bit, but if you have the gloves on, that would mitigate that while also giving you the vibration reduction afforded by that material there. Very, very cool. You might not be able to choke up on this as well to do finer things because of the aggressive finger guard right there. You could do it, but if you're kind of putting your finger on edge itself right there, so I would not recommend that. But you could certainly do some awesome draw knife stuff with this if you were using it in a camp scenario. And if you're not sure what a Kukri can do in a camp scenario, you ain't living, man. You can do a lot with it. As far as the sheath goes, it is Securex. And there it goes. Clicks in, you've got a drop strap here. You can attach tech locks or anything else because of the modular system around the edges. I'd probably throw this on a bandolier or something given its weight, but that's me personally. Check it out. There is another version of this in 4034 stainless. If you don't want the, or can't afford the 3V version of it, that one's about $190 as opposed to the $612 of this one. Next up, we have the RMJ Tactical Peregrine fixed blade. Nitro V, 4¼ inches long, $325 for this American-made knife. And it's got a bit of an EDC size to it, larger EDC, I would say, for most folks, and definitely a lot of tactical attitude with it, thanks to that Tonto-like tip, the extra shearing power and ripping power of that recurve, which is gonna work well for some utility stuff too, not just for tactical applications. Really cool. Recurve, of course, is kind of, as you're pulling it out of something, tends to gather the material into the edge as opposed to just slipping out. So that's always an added benefit right there. These are the Dirty Olive G10 handles. It's green and black, and they mill them in such a way you get a really cool looking pattern right here. Probably want to wear gloves if you're doing a lot of heavy work with this too, but you've got the traction you need in slippery situations thanks to the milling pattern right here. Nitro V, love that stuff. It is good and tough also. Toughness not just a good thing on big blades. Becomes more important on big blades, as I mentioned. And there is a sheath over here somewhere. No, there it is. Found it. And this is why I say this is kind of EDC-esque, is the mounting system provided out of the box here. You've got dual straps here, so you could mount it cross-draw, either smaller your back or cross-draw off the front, but horizontal in any case, and you've got pull-the-dot snaps here, which means they only come loose in the one direction, which if you're going through something and it gets snagged, not likely to come loose. You don't want to lose your knife after all. Feels really good overall. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what else to say about this one. It's definitely aggressive. I'm not a fighter, so I couldn't tell you exactly how aggressive, but it does still look pretty useful, even though it's an unusual shape. Yeah, maybe I should get something like this and mess around with it a little bit more, but it feels really good. Typical RMJ quality right there. Everything feels perfectly well put together. Hard to go wrong, for sure. Couple of Bokers, and then one more item to end the video. This is the Sandor Hegyes, pronouncing his name incorrectly. This is the shrimp fixed blade. About $51. You've got a just under 2.5-inch blade, D2 steel, and a G10 handle right here. Rather kind of meaty, as opposed to shrimpy, G10 handle right here. It's a 3-finger grip for me and probably for most people. And the blade itself is shrimpy feeling in comparison, maybe. Just visually, at least, anyway. But solid grip on this, which means you could really get down and dirty with this small blade. Whether it's for small hunting stuff, it could probably work well for that. Everyday carry, opening boxes, letters, that sort of thing. Certainly that is not going to stress this blade one bit. A couple little details I like here. The spine itself is slightly crowned. It's not fully crowned like you might see on something like this MKM right here, but you can see right around the edges here where your thumb might logically rest, have a little bit of easement on either side to make it more comfortable. That is pretty cool. As for carry, it is set up right out of the box with a neck style Kydex sheath. I really like the way they've mounted the cordage through this kind of loop over at the top. Really cool, allows it to slide freely in either direction, as well as because your attachment point for each end are wide enough apart, it's less likely to kind of spin around on your chest. So you're always going to be grabbing the knife in, so to speak, the right orientation. As for other options, depending on which holes you use, there are some of these that will work with a small tech lock as well as a large tech lock if you wanted to mount it to your belt in that kind of fashion. Next, we've got a knife that is decidedly not shrimpy. This is the Kalashnikov 101 2.0 flipper from Boker Plus. 121 bucks. The blade on this bad boy is just over 4 inches. It is D2 steel. The shape is a great versatile drop point. High flat grind with a full length swedge. Means it's going to be fairly efficient at most tasks. Certainly because as part of that, the blade stock is not too thick, which it's not right here. For opening, you've got two options. You've got the ambidextrous thumb disc, which works quite well. And you've got the flipper tab, which also works quite well. Love the action on this knife too. It actually does not have ball bearings. It is a washer-based system right here. So as such, it's even more surprising with kind of how fluidly good this one feels. And then of course, on top of that, less susceptible to grime and grip and dirt and all that sort of thing. As for the handle, there is, as they say, plenty of it. In fact, this one would be perfect if you have extra large hands. The finger grooves here, in fact, are almost a little too big for me. Like, this is definitely not a small hand person's knife. The way I kind of want to choke up when I'm doing a strong gorilla grip here, you can see how it doesn't quite line up with the grooves. I'm hitting the peaks in a few different places. If I've got a looser grip on it, yeah, I could do it. If I've got a pair of heavy gloves on, it might actually work better for me. So keep that in mind. But if you're a big pawed lady or gentleman looking for a big paw compatible knife, definitely worth a look right here. As far as carry at the back, we've got a reversible deep carry clip mounted from the tail with a pointed pommel there, your glass breaker, so to speak, functionality. Overall, man, really nice feeling for a nice bigger blade for sure. And last but not least, we have an ultralight pry bar from Lynch Northwest. I say ultralight because you've got the logo milled out of essentially the whole thing. This is titanium. This is the battle black and bronze version. Comes in about $169. There's also, I think, a bluish version we've got right now. Comes with a deep carry pocket clip, as well as on the other end, you've got your pry bar tip, your bottle opener / cap lifter, and that pry bar tip even comes with a little slot there to act as a nail puller right there. Kind of a cool thing. And of course, the part of me that's really obsessed with like travel-friendly multi-tool stuff right now, when you can't carry your knife, you knife people know. You'll reach for the knife or you just reach for your pocket and the clip won't be there from the knife and it throws you off your game. Throws me off my game anyway. This could perhaps ease your feelings in those sorts of situations. But yeah, check these out. Made in the USA. We've got a fair number of his clips, I think, in stock, the Lynch Northwest clips, as well for various other knife models. But you can also get some stuff like this right here. Well, that's all I've got to show you this week. As always, let me know what you thought down in the comments, and to get your hands on them, check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. Don't forget about our Knife Rewards program while you're there, because if you're gonna buy one of these knives today, you might as well earn some free knives to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, being very helpful as never today.
Yay!
We're signing off. See you next time.